So cross your fingers and let's see what we do. So here we are. Chapter 1. Friday night, I was loading the drain. Yeah, right. I have cleaned the same 3 tables at least 50 times in the last 3 hours at Abuelita's. Abuelita was a small, okay, more like a hole in the wall Tex-Mex restaurant in Texarkana, Texas. Of all the places I have ever dreamed of living and have moved to, staying here was beyond me. To make things even more confusing, Texarkana had a twin city, Texarkana, Arkansas. I guess the founders were not very creative with the name selections. But who was I to judge? Compared to most major cities, Texarkana was a tiny dot in the map. For the locals, it was the largest city within 60 miles in any direction. It was by accident that I found it. Located on the northeast tip of Texas, it was in the middle of everything and near nowhere. I was sure my godmother would love this. I promised myself I would never follow in her footsteps on wandering like a nomad. Now, here I was, in my 5th town in less than 6 months. The good news was that I had managed to stay here the longest. A whole 3 months. I was probably brain dead. I had moved to Texas in the middle of the summer, with the temperatures hitting over 90 degrees and with over 90% humidity. I was surprised I hadn't melted. My curiosity in learning everything about the king of ragtime was now extinguished. I was sure I understood why Mr. Joplin had left. Why hadn't I just read the Wikipedia? According to the calendar, fall was 6 days away and the weather was still suffocating. Isis, are you listening to me? Oops. I blanked out Abuelita's voice from the kitchen. So for anybody that is curious, this intern happens to be urban fantasy. It does take place in Texarkana, and Texarkana does happen to be a real location. So as we go through this, I'll give you all the crazy insights what drove this book. So it is real. Does take in current times, not probably like 9 years ago. So yes, it is still real. Most of the locations are still there. I think 90% of the places that are mentioned in the book are real. Some of them had to be created to match the book setting because I needed something. And it is fiction. So here we go. Abuelita had named the place after herself. More accurately, she had used her nickname. In her words, the only thing she was after her husband and daughters died was a grandmother. She embraced it and became a grandmother to the world. Her place was open to everyone, and a wide diversity of people patronized the place. Abuelita was probably in her late 60s and tall, around 5'11" with a solid body. I was a couple inches shorter, and it was odd to have a woman taller than me in this area. She was still strong and beautiful with silver hair. The shiny silver hair was the only indication of her age. She had been blessed with genes that age in slow motion, like most Latinas. I'm sorry, Abuelita. I was distracted. I suck at lying, so no need to even try. With that? With what? We haven't had a soul in hours. Not even our regulars came in. Start getting the place ready for tomorrow. No need to waste time. Might as well close early. I was speechless. In 3 months I've been working there, Abuelita had never closed early. Granted, it was already 9 p.m., and we normally close at 11, so it wasn't that early. But without customers, the cleanup was done. Closing usually took at least an hour. I was not planning to argue with Abuelita. She was a very eccentric woman. I was sure she and my godmother would bond instantly. I really needed to call her. She was the only family I had. The dining area of Abuelita had 3 tables with 4 chairs each. 2 of the tables were by the large window at the front of the restaurant. The register area doubled as a bar with 6 stools on the dining side. I took a chair by the window with a stack of forks, knives, and spoons. I was not in any hurry. There was plenty of silverware wrapped in napkins already since nobody had come in. Abuelita faced Highway 82 past Walmart and the only Mexican restaurant heading towards Nash. Normally, I saw the other high school kids driving around. Tonight, even the highway was a ghost area. A bit creepy for my taste. So, in case you're wondering, back when I wrote the book, there was literally a Mexican restaurant in that street. Now I think we have multiple. So most people try to guess. So it was based on the old Fiesta House. If you guys happen to be in Texarkana, that one closed. There's a new one in there. But before they expanded. So yes, it was based on a real restaurant that I happened to visit that completely I adore. Just because it was really small and quaint. So, little tidbit. And yes, I do talk about food a lot. So if you get hungry easily, be prepared. We'll be talking food all the time in this series. Just little notes. Here we were. It was probably a blessing it was empty because Angelito was missing. Angelito was Abuelita's grandson and the other staff member weekends with me. The only thing angelic about that boy was his name. He went through more girls than most people went through underwear. In his mind, he was a ladies' man. And unfortunately for the ladies, he was hot. At 21, he was over 6 feet tall and weighed maybe around 180 pounds. With a great complexion and incredible hazel eyes, the one thing about Angelito was that he lived with his grandmother. Hmm. He was a spoiled boy, but he adored his grandma. If Abuelita told him she needed him, he would have changed his plans for her. I could have passed for his older sister. Angelito and Abuelita were of Mexican descent, but look European. I could have passed for anything, from Italian to even Middle Eastern. My parents died when I was little. My gypsy godmother wasn't sure of our nationalities. It could be anything. And my long, thick black hair and mocha complexion, I could place me anywhere in the world. For most of my life, I've been described as exotic. I guess there's a better way of saying outcast. It didn't help that my parents had named me Isis. Isis Black. In the age of terrorists, I had the worst name on the planet. At times, I wonder what kind of parents had what kind of parents I had that would trust their only daughter to a woman like my godmother. Don't get me wrong. My godmother was a beautiful woman with an incredible caring soul. She was also a little rebel with a complete disregard for authority. Maybe my subconscious was rebelling against my upbringing when I joined the military. I was sure my godmother would have been proud if I joined a band or ran away with a circus. I kind of did both of joining the 82nd Airborne band. Oh, there it was again. The same weird Mustang. It was the fifth time that it had been driven by tonight. Cartoonist and greenish yellow car. It almost looked sicklish. Why would anyone buy a car like that? Instead of tinted windows, the car had almost a mirror-like quality. Of course, I could hear its engine roaring around inside. Around 10 o'clock, just on cue, Bob showed out. Bob was a veteran. He was also homeless, as far as I knew. He had served in the Gulf War. We joked that we have served in the same stupid sandpit decades apart. Bob was in his late 40s, with sandy blonde hair and deep green eyes. In his younger days, he had probably been very handsome. Now he rarely smiled, and most of the time, he was paranoid. But was also the only person I'd call a friend. My war stories make sense to him. So for anybody who's been prior service, I think this is the reason a lot of people are convinced that the story of ISIS is my life story. Let me explain. It's not. I'm not musician inclined. I wish I was. Can't play an instrument to save my life. So a little bit of the hint. ISIS's story is a little more my brother. He was the one who joined the 82nd Airborne. Definitely musician. Definitely the one that would have lived and go cross country. Bob just happens to be more of an imaginary friend than anything else. So she's kind of giving you the heads up if you guys are thinking Bob is somebody we know. I do not. So she's there we go. I ran behind the bar to the big window between the dining areas of the kitchen. Abuelita, Bob is here. May I take my break now? Of course, Isis. We're still empty. Here's Bob's plate. At least I can count on Bob. Abuelita handed me a large plate of carnitas with the rice and beans for Bob. According to Abuelita, Bob was a creature of habit. For the last 3 years, he had come in and then at exactly 10 o'clock. Bob ate the same pork meal every Friday night and said very little. Bob did odd jobs around the restaurant for Abuelita. He had once stopped a few kids from robbing her. Ever since, Bob was the unofficial night guard of the place. He made sure Abuelita looked up the place. In return, Abuelita made sure he had a hot meal each night. I took Bob his plate and brought quesadillas for myself. Unlike Bob, I could change my mind about dinner at least 5 times before ordering. Lucky for me, Abuelita quesadillas were the best in town. It was pretty hard to mess up tortillas and cheese. I love Abuelita's food, since she has a special menu for non-meat eaters. So when I wrote the book, just because I'm still sharing with you guys, I'm going to tell you that everybody made fun of me. Because yes, I live in East Texas, and at this time that I wrote it, I was not a meat eater most of the times. So everybody wanted to know, how can Isis move to East Texas and not eat meat? So that's one of the ongoing jokes, is that she happens to be a vegetarian, and everybody wants to know, how could she possibly survive? Since I got so much hell for it for book 1, it became the joke that we all talk about throughout the series. Even the other characters make fun of her. So in case you're wondering, this is Isis's story. She happens to be a vegetarian in East Texas, where it's technically barbecue heaven. So just keep that in mind. And please don't judge her. She's going through a lot. So, hi, Bob. Are you ready for dinner? Bob was looking around the place with concern. I followed his gaze, but couldn't see anything wrong. I took a seat on the picnic bench. Abuelita had outside. After several long minutes, Bob joined me. Isis, any trouble tonight? Bob sounded worried. It's been a cemetery around here all day, I replied between mouthful of food. How could I be hungry? I hadn't done a single thing all day. Don't joke about those things. Death walks the night. Bob was intense at times, but tonight, it was even more dramatic. Death walks the night? Was Bob drunk? Okay, according to Bob, he'd quit drinking years ago, but that was just odd. Bob, which is a figure of speech. Nobody came in line, including death. I was aiming for funny and clever. Bob didn't even blink. Isis, make sure you go directly home tonight. It's not right. Bob was staring at me with those big piercing sea green eyes. It's going to be hard to clear my busy schedule, but for you, I'll do it. I think he missed the sarcasm in my voice because he visibly relaxed and started eating his food. Oh yeah, Angelito didn't come in today. Bob arched an eyebrow at me. I swallowed quickly and proceeded to explain before Bob decided to go full assault squad in search of Angelito. Nothing major. Abuelita said he has a new girlfriend. He met her this week, I guess. Have you ever wondered where he finds all those girls? Texarkana has fewer than 100,000 people when you combine the Texas and Arkansas size. Most people are either related by blood or marriage. How is he not dead for messing with the wrong family? Wow, that was the longest speech Bud had ever given me all at once. Angelito's wildlife must have really been puzzling Bob for him to say that much. I was nice and didn't point out how he had used death to describe Angelito's potential future and didn't need another lecture. According to him, he doesn't lie. He doesn't make any promise he can't keep, so nobody's ever mad at him. I'm 25. I haven't met a 21-year-old boy who didn't lie about himself. Didn't have the best track records with men my age, so I probably was not a great judge of characters. You sound a little jaded over there. Bob was very talkative today. Didn't think Bob was that good at reading people. Maybe I just need to work on not being so transparent. Thank you, Captain Obvious. I added a glare for good measures. Anytime, Grasshopper. Bob actually smiled at me. Maybe my dad was a little like Bob, focused but not taking himself too seriously. Bob was suffering from terrible spells of PTSD, so he couldn't hold down a job. PTSD was the new term the government was using to describe what most returning vets were going through, post-traumatic stress syndrome disorder. According to Bob, it was harder to take yourself too seriously when you were struggling. Bob finished his food and started to look around. At the same moment, the pale Mustang drove by. I was staring east on 82 when it went by and Bob turned to face me. What's wrong? He had that worried tone again. Oh, nothing. She's been seeing a car driving around here tonight. I started yawning. Slow nights were painful. At the end of the day, you end up tired and with nothing to show. Anything suspicious about it? Now Bob was in full paranoid mode. Nothing really, just an odd color. Okay, we're closing early, so I need to hurry. I left the empty place before Bob could ask me more questions. I walked directly to the kitchen with the place. The kitchen area was immaculate. I really don't run a tight ship, and tonight she was ready to go. I watched the place and forced while Abuelita finished putting pots away. Okay, Isis, you can take off. Abuelita didn't even turn around when she said it. I was ready for bed, but didn't want to sound too excited. You sure? I can help you log up. I was really praying she'd say no, but I was safe she needed me. I'm good, child. Besides, Bob is doing his rounds. I'm sure I'll be okay. She smiled when she said that. Bob was very efficient. Thank you, Abuelita. Good night. I dried my hands and gave her a kiss on the cheek on my way out. Good night, Isis. She said as I ran out the door. Good night, Bob. I yelled at the night. There were no buildings near the little restaurant, so I knew sound would travel. My minivan was parked in its usual place, the spot farthest from the restaurant. Abuelita liked her paying customers to have front row parking. The minivan was old and beat up, and had even once been midnight blue. Now it was just faded blue. My godmother had given it to me, and I had nicknamed it the Whale. I wasn't complaining. The Whale saved me on gas, and I could pack my whole life into it. On top of that, it was paid for. I opened the door and was blasted by the heat that was still trapped inside. How could it be in the high 80s in September? This night, I was ready to go home to my small apartment in Summerhill Road. It was 7 minutes drive using the service road next to 30, Highway 30. But I was exhausted all the time. So welcome to Chapter 1 Experiment. That was Chapter 1 for Desk Intern, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed it. As you guys can tell, I can read very, very quickly because I probably talk extremely quickly as well. So a little background, you guys just met Isis. Isis is our leading lead girl in this series. She's 25. She is a veteran, musician, and also a little numb. I don't care what she says. She's a little gypsy herself. So you met Val, who happens to be her only friend and Abuelita. So kind of the main characters in it. And yes, it is based on the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. So hence the reason of the Mustang. Yes, hence the reason, all the colors and all that fun stuff. If you enjoy the experiment, which is kind of what we're trying to get, let me know what you guys think. Send me some stuff, send me some clues. The goal is to kind of read you guys a new chapter from a different book. So hopefully next week, we're going to try actually the week after. I am heading to West Virginia to meet the fabulous Miss Tanya Nagels, Dr. Nagels. We're going to the Appalachian Conference, so we'll hopefully be sending us some videos from there and kind of giving us an update of what we're doing. So Chapter 1 Experiment is starting officially. So thank you so much. Let me know guys what you guys think, if you enjoyed it, and what can I do better to probably not look like I'm blushing to death. So many, many blessings, everyone. And I'll be back in a couple of weeks with another Chapter 1 in a different book. Bye.